So let's say we've saved the card of the user, for example, and inside of this card is essentially an object, we have an amount of items. So let's say he has bought 2 items or has added 2 items to his shopping cart at this point. And let's say this here is the amount. And then let's say the items, for example, are an array and we have some sneakers in there, for example, and some Jordans. So let's just say this represents a simple shopping cart of a user. And now we somehow want to make sure that once the user enters those items to the shopping cart, leaves the website and comes back to this website, the items are still in the shopping cart. Because it would be a probably pretty bad user experience if all of those items are gone. And we can do so by using the local storage. And let's take a look at the website. Once we inspect this website, we see that we can go to the application tab right here, and we can go to the local storage. And this here is the local storage, and we save key value pairs inside of the local storage. So this local storage is nothing that really has anything to do with a server, but rather is a storage on the PC inside of the browser of the user. So this local storage is not that big and it belongs to the browser of the user. So every time you want to save info like your shopping cart, for example, this is the way to do it. And especially if you think about a website where you, for example, don't need the user to be logged in and you don't want to query the database all of the time to get every single detail like the shopping cart, this would be the perfect opportunity to use the local storage. So let's say we want to save those items in local storage. And all I've done is essentially create this index.html and I've linked our index.js file to this index.html. So we are executing this JavaScript code that we are writing right here inside of the browser. So now let's say we are going to use the local storage. And there are 2 methods. The first one is set item and the second one is get item. And as the names imply, one is for setting the item in the local storage and the other one is for getting the item from the local storage. So you can say set item. You first pass a key and you second pass a value. So this is the basic structure. So for our key, we could, for example, say, let's call this card items, for example. So I'm not going to name this one card because I want to show you that this is really, that you can really name this whatever you want. And then you have to pass in the value right here. So the value in our case is our card because we want to save our card to the local storage. So let's save this. Let's go inside of our browser. And as you can see now, we already have those card items inside of our saved to our local storage. But as you can see, the value is an object right now. And as I've mentioned in a previous episode, we cannot save an object to the local storage. And in order to save this card to the local storage, we have to turn it into a JSON string. So we are going to say JSON.stringify and we will pass this object to our JSON.stringify method. So now we're going to save this again. And as you can see, now we can read this value inside of our local storage. We have an amount of 2 and our items right here. Now let's also say we want to get those items from the local storage again and maybe console.log them. So let's now say local storage.get item. And once we want to get an item, we need to use the key. So we can say the key in our case is card minus items because that was the key that we've defined for our set items function. And now let's store those items. Let's say const card items is equal to local storage.get items. So now we can use those card items. So now we want to log those items, let's say in a console, for example. So we can say console.log and let's log our card items. Let's save this one. Let's go to our website and let's switch from our application tab to our console tab right here. And now as you can see, we get this item right here. But if we wanted to read those items inside of our console, we would actually need to use card items inside of a JSON.parse method. So we would have to enter them in here because first of all, we've created a string to save this inside of the local storage. But if we want to use this one as an object again inside of our JavaScript application, we have to parse this JSON string essentially. So let's console.log our card items and the parsed version. And as you can see, this here really looks like an object. The second one, the parsed version, whereas the first one looks like a JSON string. And is all you really need to know to understand the local storage in JavaScript.